includes she's director, right, Christina? You can shake your head. That's all right. We'll wait a minute, let me see. Undo you? No, I can't. That's all right. I'll look on my email, so I'll have it right. But Christina, can you tell me maybe which sign language, how much time you need for a presentation? Is it 20 minutes, 15, 10?
Christina, can you speak now? You're not muted anymore. Maybe turning up your volume. Mm-hmm. Okay, we are live on Facebook.
So Christina, can you say something?
Are you able to do it from your phone?
Okay, let's do that. And when you do that, you're probably gonna have to turn your volume down on your computer or put it on mute, even though we can't hear anything anyway. This is the fun of live television.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and start. Christina, you let me know if you have any questions or if you need help with anything. We'll see how we're able to get your audio working. All right.
Denise, you say we're live?
Yes, we are.
I don't see us.
Refresh your page, it should be on there. Well, hello everybody that's joined in on Zoom and on Facebook Live. I see y'all. Thank y'all for joining us again on this weekly webinar. My name is Denise. I'm the Membership Service Director for the Fort Worth Metropolitan Black Chamber of Commerce. And so giving you a little update from the chamber. So yesterday we did our first day of giving out PPE equipment. So we have partnered with the Fort Worth Chamber, the Fort Worth Hispanic Chamber, the City of Fort Worth, and Visit Fort Worth, and Facebook and Hillwood. We have partnered together and are supplying small businesses in our community PPE equipment now that Texas is starting to reopen gradually. So we want to make sure that our small businesses are taken care of and that they're being safe with their employees as well as their customers. So we have been doing that. We did that yesterday, and then this Friday we did 100 yesterday, and then this Friday we have another 300 that we're doing. So very exciting, being able to be out there and helping our constituents in our communities, our members, and just small businesses in the area. But we do need volunteers for handing these PPE kits out on Friday, as well as assembling them on Thursday. So if you are interested in volunteering on the behalf of the Fort Worth Black Chamber of Commerce, just let me know and we will get you down on a list of volunteers. We really appreciate that. All right, to start off our highlights for this webinar. We're going to go ahead and have Angela Gilchrist with NARAB. I'm sorry if I say this wrong. Let me get you on here on Spotlight, and she will tell you more about her business.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. Once again, as she says, I'm Angela Gilchrist, and I am the local board president for the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. How many of you have heard of NARAB before? Okay, that's my job. My job is to make sure that we get some exposure. We are the minority counterpart to NAR. So I know a lot of you heard of NAR, the National Association of Realtors. When I became an agent in 2008 and 9, I thought I was automatically a realtor. And I found out, I found out that I had to join that organization in order to become a realtor. And I did not know until 5 years later that NARAB existed, which is the minority counterpart. And we've been around for about 72 years and in Fort Worth for about 58 years. And we are not just for real estate agents and brokers, we're for all minority, specifically Black contractors and real estate professionals. And we support all small businesses. My job is to let people know that we're out there, we are educating the communities and churches and letting them know that you can become homeowners. You cannot get wealth through renting. As our organization is supporting Black businesses and Black agents, real estate agents, and letting them know that it's important to keep the wealth in our culture and in our communities by home ownership. So many people are settling for renting because they think they can't own. And we have a lot of programs that's different from the regular city programs. People are familiar with, the different city programs that's out there, but we do have lenders and members and programs that are specific to our low to moderate income communities. We believe in democracy and housing and supporting our businesses specifically in the urban areas. So my job is to make sure that people in the community and business owners know that we exist and that we are out there trying to create Black wealth. Well, really, we're for all minorities because we were there at the fair housing signing. We were there before NARAB. NARAB came in 99, and then ARIA came in 2003. But before they formulated, because of culture, we were there for all minorities, specifically because there are issues that's unique to our cultures in the urban areas that NAR either they were aware of it or did not, it didn't concern them. In 2018, Elizabeth Mendenhall, who at the time was the president of NAR, she came to our national convention and apologized for having part of their original bylaws that people of color were not allowed to be part of the National Association of Realtors. I know people don't like to think that in 2020 or in this 21st century that redlining exists, that steering exists, but it does. And we are in Washington, DC, fighting to let people know that we still believe in democracy and housing, and mostly education, educating families and the public. And we're looking to partner with the chamber and other businesses to know that we are here for you and for the people that you serve, and partner together. I don't believe in reinventing the wheel. We just want to partner with like-minded businesses and people. So I need y'all to help me to get the word out.
That's great. Do you have social medias that people can follow you
Yes,
on?
we do. We are on Facebook. If you go to look for NAREB, NAREB, NAREB stands for National Association of Real Estate Brokers. Just look up NAREB Fort Worth, our page there, and you can join that way. Our website is fwrealtist.org, and our membership fees are not expensive at all. And there's so much that comes with that. Right now, NAREB alone, we have a D-free program that's free. That's actually a process to help not just the clients, but I'm going through the program for budgeting and education. We also have we just started housethenthecar.com, meaning housethentheluxurycar.com, because a lot of these young people are opting to rent so they can get the Peloton bikes and buy their BMW and their sports car, but they are not owning anything. I don't care if you want to own a condo or a townhome, own something. So housethenthecar.com is there, and it's for housing, counseling, and education as well. So we have some new initiatives and programs out there. We also have initiatives just for the seniors, because now there are a lot of seniors who are downsizing, or because of gentrification, they don't know what to do or where to go with interest rates. They don't know whether they should do reverse mortgage or what they should do. But that's what our organization has been around for 72 years to do. So thank you, Denise, for letting me know that you can go to our Facebook page, NAREB Fort Worth. That's our page, or go to our parent website, nareb.com, and read all about our organization and our initiatives. And we're looking to read from your supply. So we don't claim to know everything. I don't claim to know everything. Right now, we are looking for people that's able to join us in this war that we are in, because truly it is still a war for economic, what could I say, equalization that we're going through right now.
Well, thank you so much, Angela. That was very useful information. We appreciate you taking the time to join us today. Definitely looking forward to working with you and hopefully helping you out and getting your organization out there. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Angela? If not, if you don't have any questions right now, make sure to reach out via their social media or the contacts that she just provided. And thank you so much, Angela.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, feel free to stay on
to
listen to the rest of the webinar. We're going to go ahead and introduce our next guest. His name is Jerry Brooks from JC Brooks Law Firm. Give me one moment. There you go.
All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Denise, and thank you to the Fort Worth Metro Black Chamber of Commerce. Again, my name is JC Brooks. I am the owner and managing attorney of JC Brooks Law Firm, PLLC, with a principal office in Fort Worth, Texas. Just a little bit about myself. Personally, I have an accounting background. Graduated with an accounting degree from Auburn University. And of course, I have a law degree from the University of Nebraska, Lincoln College of Law. I've been a lawyer since 2006, same time that I've been in Texas, and I'm originally a native of Alabama, but I am happy to be here in Texas now. So this is my home, and I'm proud to call it that. A little bit about my law firm. We focus our practice in three primary areas. The first area being construction and real estate law. Angela, I actually work with some realtists from NARAB, and I've actually been to you guys' conference up in DC. So I know you all do a phenomenal job, promoting Black home ownership, which is very important. So in my practice with real estate law, we focus a lot on drafting real estate transactions, reviewing real estate transactions. We do a lot as far as what I would say creative real estate transactions, working with real estate investors with things such as subject to deals, wraparound mortgages, loan agreements, things like that. And then, of course, a major portion of our practice is construction law, where we work primarily with a lot of minority contractors as far as setting up their business structures, as well as reviewing construction contracts, dealing with any payment disputes, lien issues, things of that nature. So that's a good chunk of our practice. In addition to that, we also deal with probate issues. And of course, that probate is something that is very important, that has kind of come to the forefront with COVID-19. People have understanding the importance of having a will or trust, having basic estate planning documents such as a durable power of attorney, a medical power of attorney, healthcare directives, some basic estate planning tools. That is something that my law firm, we assist our clients with setting all that up, as well as when it comes time to actually go into a probate court and probate a will, or if you don't have a will, we go in and can probate without a will as well. But I always advise people that it is to your advantage to get a will and get the other basic estate planning documents in order, because it will definitely give you peace of mind, and it will save your family both time and heartache of going through a long drawn out probate process. And then lastly, our practice focuses on small businesses. In particular, again, a lot of minority small businesses, in which we assist those businesses with selecting a proper structure for their business setup. And one of the things that I tell people is that a proper structure is not just simply going in and filing or getting an LLC or C Corp. That is one step in the process. But there are several other steps that you need to be advised of, and make sure that you are setting up properly so that you can be a sustainable business. We want to have businesses that we just don't start, but that will last 10, 15, 20 years down the road. And I think sometimes in particular in our community, we are so focused on getting that piece of paper from the Secretary of State and saying we're in business, but we don't follow that up with doing the other things that are necessary to making sure that we stay in business, not that we just start that business. So that's a little bit about the areas that my firm practices in. If anyone has any questions, I do offer a free initial consultation for first time, people that may have questions for the first time. Usually I limit it to about 20 minutes. But that is something that I offer. As far as my contact information, I tell people the best way to get in contact with me is usually via email. You can try my cell phone, but what I tell people is, I said, I'm usually with clients. I'm usually in court. I'm usually traveling. So a lot of times it's hard to reach me via phone, but you can reach me via my email, and my email address, that is Jerry, Jerry, at jcblawfirm.com. Again, that's Jerry at jcblawfirm.com. And one last thing is, in addition, as far as my small business practice, one thing that I offer is what I call outside general counsel services, in which I can, instead of a small business going out and spending, $100,000, $150,000 on a general counsel, you can basically kind of use our services for a reduction of that cost, and have us come in and basically act as your general counsel. That's actually what I do for one of my clients that is a member of the Fort Worth Metro Black Chamber Postel Group. That's actually where Daryl knows me from, is from coming over there and doing some things with Postel Group. So that's a little bit about myself, as well as a little bit about the services that my firm provides. Again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to send me an email, or you can also try calling me. Cell phone number is 817-264-7288.
Wonderful. Thank you, JC. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Brooks?
So this is Daryl at the Black. Daryl, how you doing?
I'm good, Daryl. How are you?
I'm great. Are you the guy that's there all the time when I come over there?
Yes, Daryl. I'm there every time you're over. You come over there for those events. I'm over there. Yes, sir.
I thought you worked for Jeff.
I do basically. Yeah, yeah. So.
Well, great. So, this is actually great news, because something I want to do for our contractors is help them learn how to do some joint ventures, because many times they may be too small to do a particular job. However, if they get together and just go in and bid together on this particular deal, then they have a better chance at winning it. And we have to feel comfortable when you do something like that, you're not going to get taken advantage of. So I'm going to ask you to get a webinar together, a class together, if you would.
Yes, sir.
So that you can help our contractors out with that. Is that okay?
Yes. I would love to do it.
Okay, I appreciate you.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to share with us your business and being here with us today. Let me know if we can help you with any future ventures. I would really appreciate it. Feel free to stay on the webinar. We're going to go ahead and continue with our agenda for today.
All right. Thank you very much, Denise. Appreciate it.
All right. So continuing with our agenda for today, just wanted to let everybody know, if you have a business or you know of a business that will benefit from being highlighted during our webinars. We try to give the first portion of the webinar to highlight some local businesses to try to get some more traction for them. There is a form. It's on our Facebook. It's also in the newsletters that we've been sending out. Last week, we just on the 1st, we sent out our main newsletter. So if you're not already subscribed to our newsletter, make sure to subscribe to our mailing list. We send out weekly and monthly newsletters to keep y'all informed of what's happening in our community, as well as events and especially things now with business resources with COVID-19. Make sure to subscribe to our newsletter. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to my coworker, Daryl Brewer, and he'll continue with the next portion.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy that you chose to tune in with us today. Now we're going to go to our economic development portion. And today, first up, we're going to talk to Rodney Johnson. He is the director of the SBDC here in Fort Worth, and he represents the Small Business Administration. And Rodney's just going to give us a few brief updates on what's going on with the SBA right now. Rodney?
Okay, greetings to everyone. I hope everyone is having a fantastic Tuesday. My name is Rodney Johnson. I'm the director for the Small Business Development Center of Tarrant County, where we help businesses get started. We also help them to grow to another level. We also help them, particularly in these days and times, with strategies and advice and methodologies in terms of how to sustain your business during the coronavirus and COVID-19. Today, I just wanted to update you a little bit in terms of where things are at and a couple of things that are real popular right now in terms of focuses that are going on. So that was round one of the PPP and EIDL. Then there was round two. Round one was concluded. They ran out of money over a week ago and week and a half ago, and they were able to go through in about 14 days, $342 billion. That $342 billion was actually dispersed among 1.66 million applications. A lot of emphasis, a lot of attention was given to the fact that several larger businesses who have now since returned those funds and that money went back into the pot. So the focus for small businesses is back where it should be, and that is trying to make sure that those companies that qualify as a small business actually are the recipients of those resources. To qualify as a small business under the SBA's guidelines, there really was one of two criteria that needed to be met. If you've not heard of what a NAICS code is, a NAICS code is National Association Industry Classification System. And it had one or two criteria. You're either going to be judged on, for the particular industry you're in, how much money you made, what your revenue was on an annual basis, or how many employees you have. And typically the threshold was 500 or fewer. There were some exceptions where that number may exceed, but for the most part, there was those two thresholds. So that's a little bit of the background in terms of small businesses, in terms of round one. Question now is, what's going on with round two? Well, there's two major components of the SBA CARES Act as related to small businesses. One of them was called the EIDL, Economic Injury Disaster Loan, EIDL, or EIDL. There was a second subcomponent of that called the EIDL grant, which is a grant that would be extended to small businesses at a rate of $1,000 per employee up to a maximum of $10,000. And the third component was dealing with the Paycheck Protection Program. So there's Paycheck Protection Program, EIDL loan, and EIDL grant. Both the EIDL and the PPP both ran out of money about the same time within a matter of hours during round one. Well, round two has begun. And round two was funded for the PPP with an additional $290 billion. Of that $290 billion, they have in fact approved $175 billion in loans. So there's another $115 billion of round two for PPP that is still being processed, are still available. So let me stop right there and say this. There's $115 billion that is still being processed. If you, Mr. or Mrs. or Miss Small Business, have not processed your application for the PPP under the fear that they have either run out of money or that they may turn you down, my encouragement to you is to please find a lending institution, get your loan processed as soon as possible, because the only assured way, there's two ways to be assured that you don't qualify. One of them is for you to let them tell you no, and the second one is for you to not apply, therefore you're telling yourself no. If you have a small business, I encourage you to please seek out a lending institution and process the paperwork. If you're having trouble finding one, I'll give you a phone number, call our office, we'll be happy to connect you. So there's 2.2 billion loans that's been made so far in round two. There was 1.66 million loans processed in round one. There are 2.2 million loans that have been processed so far in round two. So far, it is clearly evident by the data that there is a very concentrated effort to make sure that the majority of these funds go to quote unquote small businesses. I gave you those definitions a little bit earlier. To the point that they have even spent a day where they shut down medium and large size banks. Medium banks being someone that has $10 billion in assets or greater, from sending in any more applications, so that those that are smaller might have a chance to get their applications up into the SBA portal. So again, I'm telling you, please, if you have not filled out an applications, please do so, because it is not too late, but every minute that passes is a minute gone, and maybe you may miss the opportunity. I also want to tell you that Texas was the second largest recipient of loans in round number one. In round number one, Texas received over $33 billion in loans for their businesses. In round number two, so far, Texas is in third place, having received $12.8 billion of loans of the 175 billion dollars in loans that's been dispersed. So Texas has been approved for 175,000 loans, totaling up again to about $12.8 billion. PPP is being processed, but the EIDL, which in round number two, the federal government had set aside an additional $60 billion. EIDL has not opened back up yet for the general small business. They have opened up yesterday, I believe, for agricultural and for one other very small niche category. But in general, they have opted to continue to work off the backlog of orders, the backlog of applications from round number one. So if you put in an application in round number one, my suggestion to you is do not grow weary, because they are continuing to process those. We are continuing to hear reports about the application process. People are starting to receive funds in both, and I'm talking about businesses that are around Tarrant County, that are around the Metroplex. They're getting their PPP loans approved. They're getting the EIDL grants approved. It's still very slow in hearing any information about the EIDL loan themselves. Only a handful of those seem to have actually made it to the streets yet. So they're still processing that. And then finally, I just want to encourage you that you should continue to work towards developing solutions for your business. On tomorrow, I'm going to be hosting a webinar entitled Plan B. Some of us will not get any of the loans that the SBA has set aside. Maybe you didn't qualify, maybe you didn't apply, whatever. You need to start thinking strategically about Plan B. So, and Plan B is simply what happens if your initial plans don't work out. So I'd like to go into details about that tomorrow. Don't want to spend time today on that, but we would be more than happy to deal with that tomorrow. If you need information, please go to tarrantsbdc.org and register. TarrantSBDC.org and register. Again, there's $115 billion still remaining for these programs. I'm sorry, let me take one additional minute, Daryl, because this is very critical. Beyond the federal government, there are a number of initiatives that are being made to try to meet what I'd call the micro businesses, the true mom and pops. You will find and you will hear, and you need to keep your ear to the ground about programs that are coming out from the counties, that are coming out from large municipalities, that are making both loans and funds and grants available to the micro businesses. Because you applied for the PPP does not exclude you from applying for some of this other money that is being made available through the city of Fort Worth or the Tarrant County or other avenues. And
we're going to be talking about that.
Keep your ear to the ground because it is coming. And you need to be available. You need to be ready to plug in to present your application so you can get some of the additional resources that are being made available.
Okay, Rodney, thank you. I appreciate that for giving us the update. I just had one thing that I've been hearing out there, and that is some of these, I'm gonna call them 7A SBA lenders have higher requirements than the SBA. For instance, personal guarantees or higher credit scores than are required. Is that appropriate, or is it appropriate and if that's what they're doing, hey, just go to a different 7A lender?
Okay, so I'm gonna give you the technical answer. The technical answer is that the SBA has been very specific about what the qualifications are for anyone who is applying for this loan. So if you have an independent lender who is applying their own standards to this, and it's contrary to those standards of the SBA, then they're not operating in good faith, because that is in fact the words that the SBA use to describe this process. They want people to apply in good faith. If you have a lender, and I'm glad you raised that like that, Daryl. If you have a lender who is wanting to, number one, charge you an additional fee, who is putting additional scrutiny on you, saying you need to have a higher credit score, or you need to open up X number or transfer all your money over. If you have all of that craziness kind of going on, I strongly suggest that you perhaps search and find a different institution, someone who is going to apply the standards that was enacted and approved by the House of Representatives, by the Congress, and by the President of the United States, and has now put it into, and the reason I put that like that is because when they signed off on it, they signed off on it under the pretense that it is now the law. So someone who is adding these additional standards are actually operating above the standards that the law required, and they may have some additional issues that won't be very nice for them, but that's their business.
So that's my point. That's my point. I've been hearing that. So yes. So your answer is go find somebody else. Number one. Number two, should we be reporting those institutions to, I don't know, the SBA or somebody that's what's going on?
Well, number one, if I'm not mistaken, a part of the application process, you have to, the lenders themselves must disclose to the SBA what fees are required, what fees were part of.
I got all that. I'm talking about, it's just like if I walk in there and they don't like the color of my skin, they start raising. So you got to have an 800 credit score, and I know that that's not an SBA standard, for instance. Is there a place that I can go report that? Should I go to the SBA and report that, or should I do something else?
Why wouldn't you go to the SBA? It's their program.
I'm going to report it. I'm asking. I don't know.
The answer to your question is yes. Go to the SBA. If you have that proof, if you have that experience, they have an 800 number on their website. By all means, contact the SBA with that information.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you. All right, Rodney, we always appreciate you with the updates and information you give us. We got to get on to the next portion, the because we got about 20 minutes left in this webinar, and we want to make sure that we have our next guest give her the opportunity, because she is worthy of that opportunity to have plenty of time to express what is going on in her office. And she is none other than Christina A. Brooks. She is the Chief Equity Officer, Director for Diversity and Inclusion, Department for the City of Fort Worth. So we are welcoming her, and Christina is going to tell us what she's been doing since getting the new office, in her new position. And Christina, are you on? Hello, Christina, can you hear me? Are you talking? Okay, I don't see, I see your lips moving.
Did you add yourself as a listener? I think I saw that. That someone came in as a listener. Was that you? Yeah. Okay, hold on. Okay, talk.
Yes, can you hear me?
Boom, got it. I added
Yay! Okay. All right.
So
Okay,
welcome,
I'm
Christina.
trying to,
Thank you for
go
joining
ahead.
us. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Can you see my screen? I tried to share the PowerPoint.
Yes, you're good to go.
Yes, we
Okay,
can.
great.
And so how
All
long have
right,
you been, with the city of Fort Worth now?
6 months. I started in December 9th, I believe was my first day in the office with the city of Fort Worth. And we are at 6 months with the city of Fort Worth. I'm coming from South Bend, Indiana, back home to Texas. I grew up in San Antonio and left to go to college and up at the University of Notre Dame, and lived in lots of different places between my college years and today. So my husband and I are happy to be back in this part of the country. He is originally from Oklahoma, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and as I said, I'm from San Antonio, so it's good to be back in Texas.
Well, awesome. Well, go ahead and tell us what you have for us today, so we can see what's going on in the Office of Diversity and Inclusion.
Sure. I want to give everybody a kind of an overview of the department itself, and talk about at the end of the presentation some of the major projects that we have going on in our department. So our mission for the new department, it was originally a unit housed in the city manager's office that after the Race and Culture Task Force concluded its business and created a list of 22 recommendations, that a standalone department be created. And so beginning in October of last year, we were an official department, but we continue to do some of the work of the existing unit that was there before, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But our mission is to promote the values of diversity, equity, inclusion, and access, really as they apply to employee and labor relations, but also in the delivery of municipal services and capital investments. Anything that's really going to impact the quality of life for all the Fort Worth residents. And the responsibilities that we have within our department are, of course, producing annual reports in some of the key areas that I'll talk about in a few minutes, ensuring the city's compliance with state and federal civil rights laws, producing and maintaining the city's new equity plans that will be coming online in the next year, and then also the planned administration of the city's Minority and Women Business Enterprise Program. We are also responsible for supporting the education of city employees. And then, of course, providing staff support to, we actually have to update this now, but not only the Fort Worth Human Relations Commissions, but also the Mayor's Committee on Persons with Disabilities, as well as the MWBE Advisory Committee out of the Business Diversity Division. So there are 3 divisions within our department. There's the Civil Rights Enforcement Division. That was the unit that was formerly the Human Relations unit that was in the city manager's office. So we continue to definitely enforce the civil rights laws. We are also now responsible for business diversity, and that is the Minority and Women Business Enterprise Program for contract compliance and capacity building. And then we also are responsible for Equity Division, which really focuses in on research and policy development and education. So here are some of the major projects that we have. The Race and Culture Task Force recommendation progress. So we're responsible for making sure that all of those 22 recommendations across criminal justice, education, economic development, governance, health, housing, and transportation are actually moving forward. We're also responsible for the equity plan itself. And of course, we're wrapping up the city's Minority and Women Business Enterprise Disparity Study, where we contracted with Colette Holt and Associates as our consultant to conduct that analysis. So the Race and Culture Task Force, I already mentioned all of the different topic areas, and each one of those topic areas had a number of strategies. So we're responsible for making sure that all of these strategies move forward. Oh, what happened there? This is an update that we have there's some updates to make to this now, but the ones that you see highlighted are probably the ones that most people in the community are more familiar with. So under the criminal justice strategy 1, you know that we've hired a new police monitor, and her name is Kim Neal. Also hired an assistant police monitor, Denise Rodriguez. So they are, in the process of really filling out their office and hiring staff. And the next thing on their agenda, of course, is to pull together people in the community to help them look at ways that we can achieve that first strategy, the oversight of the police department, and how we will accept complaints, and how we will process those complaints and the outcomes of those complaints. Then the other area is, of course, economic development. I've talked a little bit about that. The disparity study, as I said, is we're wrapping that up, and it's in the final draft stages. And so hopefully we will have a final copy for people in the community to comment on and give us feedback so that we can move on to the next steps there. And then, of course, in the governance area, our department was created, and we also have pilot diversity and inclusion education workshops, one of which was already completed with the legal department, but we have plans to round out the educational opportunities that was started last year with our leadership. Now we want to make sure that that all of our staff, including individual contributors, get that same educational workshop with the presenter that was the facilitator for the supervisors with the city. So hopefully we will have that accomplished this year as well. So now we're moving into the equity plan, and it's really a blueprint for providing access to fair and inclusive and equitable municipal services for Fort Worth. So we're going to be looking at each department as they deliver municipal services and making sure that we are looking at how those services are being felt across the city. If there are any inequities, we want to make sure that we're addressing those. And so there are a couple of things that we want to be able to measure in reviewing programs and policies and processes within the delivery of municipal services. We want to look at those municipal services by impact, by geographic location in the city. And we want to have this review done every 3 to 5 years per department. And we also, as far as the internal review, we want to look at the city departments individually and by staff demographics so that we can see and measure how the hiring process looks. Is it equitable? Is it fair? Is it inclusive? But also promotions and transfers as well. So this is going to be a pretty heavy lift, but it is a shared responsibility. So all departments will have to go through this process, and we'll lean heavily on planning and data analytics department, as well as our communications and public engagement office, of course, the city manager's office, and then we're looking for some outside support from other organizations as well. So our pilot department in this first year that we're completing the equity plan is going to be transportation and public works. It's one of the larger departments in the city behind our law enforcement departments. And there are 4 or 5 units within transportation and public works, and they will be the first department that will complete the equity plan process. Finally, we have the disparity study. There are a number of cities that complete disparity studies, and if you want to keep a minority and women business program in your city, there are a couple of things that you have to do on a pretty regular basis, usually every 5 to 7 years. And it's really important for the following reasons that are listed on the screen: to provide a litigation defense, meet regulatory requirements, and also make administrative improvements. It's really an opportunity for us to review how we are doing things internally and make sure that if there are changes that need to be made in order for us to deliver more equitable services and to close those gaps in contracting, that we're able to do that successfully. These are typically the elements that are involved in a really good disparity study. There's usually a pretty hefty legal review and analysis looking at case law in regards to MWBE programs at the municipal level. It's really contingent upon not just federal law as precedent, but also state law and any county or local laws that may impact our ability to have a viable MWBE program. There's also a determination of the city's geographic marketplace. That's really where we do business, where do we spend money. Currently, the city's geographic marketplace covers 6 counties. It includes Tarrant, Dallas, Parker, Wise, Johnson, and I'm missing one, Denton, and Denton counties. There's also a determination of the industry market and the city's utilization of MWBEs. Utilization just means like we want to know if we understand how many minority and women businesses there are that can do specific work. How many of those businesses are we actually using? How many are awarded contracts? And also from those 2 numbers, there is a disparity analysis that takes place. So we can see, based on the availability and how we're utilizing them, is there a disparity there? And that disparity ratio or disparity index is really what we use to determine overall annual goals. But we certainly will set project by project specific goals as well. That's just a best practice. We also do an economy-wide disparity analysis in the disparity study. And this is probably one of the most important aspects of a disparity study is collecting anecdotal data, which means we hear directly from business owners in the area and hearing from them exactly what their experience has been in trying to contract or do business with the city and where they think we can make improvements. So all of that is taken into consideration, and then there are recommendations that are made based on all of that information. So our next step with the city is, as I said, we are wrapping up the draft of the disparity study, and we'll be able to share that with the larger Fort Worth community in the coming weeks. We look to hear back from and get feedback from minority businesses and businesses in general that are going to be impacted by this, as well as our internal departments that will be responsible for implementing any of the recommendations that we choose to move forward with. And so we have that on our plate. We also have the equity plan that's underway. And then, of course, the overall making sure that we're keeping track of the overall progress of the 22 recommendations from the Race and Culture Task Force. So that's an overview of our new Department of Diversity and Inclusion. Happy to answer any questions.
Well, I see right now we need to have you on for about 5 or 6 weeks in a row because because when I was looking at everything that's under your umbrella, it's going to take a minute to go through each section. Look, I know when you start talking about the police monitor, well, that might take up 2 sessions in and of itself.
Well, Kim Neal comes to the city of Fort Worth with a great deal of experience under her belt and a great track record from Cincinnati, Ohio. So I really look forward to seeing what she and Denise will be able to do and the success they're able to have here in Fort Worth.
So they fall under your umbrella as well, correct?
No, they don't report to me at all. Kim Neal and her department report directly to the city manager. What we are responsible for in our department is the oversight of the advancement of those recommendations. We need to ensure that there's actually progress happening in all of those areas. But her department does not report to ours.
Okay, it's a little confusing because you had that on that list of things that looked like it
Yeah.
was under your purview: criminal justice, economic development, education, health, housing.
Yes, the recommendations out are under our purview.
Understand.
But that's across a number of different departments in the city. Every department in the city has some skin in the game. And we're just responsible for making sure that there's progress in supporting the departments if they have if they're struggling to make progress, making sure that they have the resources available and guidance. No, those are spread out among the different departments in the city. We're just responsible for keeping an eye on it and making sure that they're moving forward and supporting them along the way.
Okay, I got you. So Denise, just know we're probably going to run over significantly just because we don't want to shortchange our listeners and our watchers with being able to ask Christina any questions, et cetera, and just fully get out what we can during this period of time since we have Christina's time. Now, Christina's it's a little after 4. How much time do you have, by the way, have you set aside for us?
I had scheduled until 4 o'clock, but I have I can give you 7 minutes.
Denise, do we have any questions from the audience while I look at my other questions?
No, sir, there's none on Facebook Live nor on here on the chat. If anybody
Okay.
has any questions, feel free to go ahead and ask them now. We have 7 minutes, well, 6 maybe now.
Which means if listeners and watchers, you could just type your question into the comments and we will see them. So I know that the I'm gonna call it the MWBE program has moved from under Robert Stearns to under your purview. So can you speak on how it will be different going forward with you versus under Robert Stearns, if it'll be different?
Yeah, I think there's a bit of a difference and maybe a different focus. Robert has done an amazing job, a tremendous job in kind of carrying the load of the full weight of economic development for the whole city, as well as trying to advance business diversity in the city of Fort Worth. And so moving business diversity into the Department of Diversity and Inclusion really gives us the opportunity to singularly focus on the aspects around business diversity, the capacity building, the contract compliance, the ordinance itself, the program plan, where in any other situation they may have had to divide their focus in multiple areas. But now that we have kind of brought in a couple of enforcement divisions together, there are some things that will kind of not necessarily overlap, but there are some similarities in the way that we will approach progress, because all of our units have a mandate that's attached to local ordinances or local laws, but we also want to make sure that we are, like I said, seeing the kind of progress that people in the community have really sought for, generations in some cases. So this is a great opportunity. We're still going to work very closely with economic development as well as transportation and public works and development services, neighborhood services, the water department, and of course the city manager's office, as well as external partners in the community that have a specific focus on advancing minority and women business initiatives. So it's really just a win-win situation. We still have the benefit of Robert's institutional knowledge, but we also have an opportunity to kind of focus in on aspects of inclusion that may not have been afforded before.
We have a question.
Yes.
For you, Angela. So there's a couple of, a few statements from JBAR. They said, especially in using minority contractor to do work, the city of Fort Worth has identified and showing that we're getting our fair share of winning contracts. In the past, we could bid on projects, but we never really are awarded these contracts.
Mm-hmm.
And then a question from JC Brooks. He says, can you talk about a few of the plans and recommendations that you have for the MWBE programs to enhance the participation of minority contractors, particularly Black minority contractors?
Sure. One of the things I think has been a central theme in the speakers on tonight's seminar in the space of capital. Financial capital, and that has been really a long-standing issue with for minority contractors in particular. The first time that this discussion was had, that was recorded, was right after or during Reconstruction after emancipation. And so we're talking about the first conversations about access to capital for Black and brown entrepreneurs was in the 1870s. And here we are today in 2020, still having the same conversation. So one of the focus that we have as a department is to make sure that we create a sustainable and long-standing solution to access to capital, and not just kind of leveraging this tragedy that is COVID-19 across the United States into a way that we can create a pipeline of cash flow into minority businesses, preparing them to eventually move into traditional financing, but maybe that starts out with non-traditional or alternative financing through CDFI networks that specialize in specific industries. Not just, we tend to focus on construction, but there are lots of minority business owners out there that support local economies, and we want to make sure that they stay in business as well. So that's going to be one of our, something that we're working on is tapping into CDFI-friendly Fort Worth model that would give us access to hundreds of CDFIs across the United States that could provide not only financial resources, but also support services in a way that would just really advance the kinds of resources that we already have here in Fort Worth, like People Fund and the support that we get from the chamber. And so This is just a way to kind of expand that and make sure that it's something that we put in place that will be here for decades to come.
Okay, Christina, thank you. I appreciate it. I know you went over your extra time, your encore time. So if
Yes.
you need to get off, that's fine. We're going to try and see if we can't schedule you next week. I know you don't have your calendar in front of you, but I'd like to go into this a little much further because that is one of the major things on my agenda is capital for our entrepreneurs and African American businesses. So I would love to go into that in more detail. And so as soon as we can get you back on here, we're going to do that. Is that okay?
That sounds great, Daryl.
All right.
All right. Thank
you
you.
again for your time. I know you got to go. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Have a
All
good
right.
evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Well, that's all we have from the economic development side. We want to thank Rodney Johnson for updating us. He's with the FWMBCC here in Tarrant County and giving us an update on the changes and anything that's going on with the SBA right now. And one of the major takeaways is that there is still over $100 billion left aside for the PPP program. And so if you have not applied, make sure you get with an SBA lender, a 7A lender, which is your local bank, and get that in. And if you don't have, if you're not, your local bank is not taking care of you, please just go to another bank. A smaller bank may be what you need to do and get your loan application in. And finally, we want to thank Christina Brooks. She is the Chief Equity Officer and Director of Diversity and Inclusion with the City of Fort Worth. And we look forward to maybe getting her back on here very soon to continue this discussion because she's got a lot of stuff under her umbrella that we want to make sure we get that information out to the community. And with that, I'm going to sign off and hand it back to Denise. Oh, by the way, if you have some ideas, people you would like or information you'd like, make sure you get it to me. You can email me at dbrewer@fwmbcc.org, and we will try to get that information answered for you. Make sure that you subscribe to our website, go on our website and subscribe. And the reason I say that is because we have information we're trying to get out to you. Sometimes that information goes directly to your email and we don't have time between this week and next week. A lot of things can transpire. So we do, Denise does send out weekly updates. And so we'll have that economic development information in there as well, because Rodney is telling you the truth. There are some other monies that are trying to come down the pipe and you need to be close so that you can get an opportunity to get it before it runs out again. Okay? So thank you, Denise. Back to you.
Thank you, Daryl. Okay, I know that we had a couple of questions before, after she had left, Ms. Christina. So Dante Williams asked, how is your department helping track the People Fund COVID-19 loans to Black companies? Who's tracking the 60% of minorities? Well, I'm not sure how People Fund in the city are doing that, but I know that the loans are going through People Fund. So I'm assuming that it's on their end in their database is what I'm assuming. Daryl, if you have any information on that.
So yeah, that's a People Fund in the City of Fort Worth and the Office of Development. But that the real deal is the SBA loan is a better loan. PPP is a better loan than the People Fund loan is. So that's why we're encouraging you to apply for those out there who need it, to apply for the SBA loan, the PPP, through your local lender that is affiliated with the SBA. And I'm also saying to you that there should be some other things coming down. Make sure you are close. I can't emphasize that enough. Make sure you're connected with the chamber, because we get this information firsthand from the source, and we're trying to punch it out there to you. And I've been saying things over and over, catching people on Facebook, et cetera, over and over and over, when we've already published this information many times in a webinar. And I've certainly sent it out to people directly through email. So don't be behind because you're not connected. Get connected. Any other questions, Denise?
Second. Not a question, statements from J-Bar. What will help us is if the city of Fort Worth helps Black contractors be primes on the projects and not pushing us to subcontractors. We can build equity as subs, but not as primes.
So let me speak to that. And JC, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but you got to grow up to be a prime. Because if they were to give many of us a $20 million contract, we couldn't do anything with it. So therefore, we have to grow up to it. That's why I talked about the opportunity to partner. And I'm not trying to shirk the city's responsibility, but we, which is what this COVID thing is really reiterating to our community, to me, is we got to stand on our own 2 feet. We got to come together, collaborate, and do what we can. We need to pull up together our own money, because there's money we do have out here, pull that together, come up with our own projects, and so then we don't have to worry about begging, is what I call it, with our hand out, can you please give me a percentage of that? If we got 100% of the deal, then we could decide how it's going to be done. For instance, there is a new car wash and lube that's going to go up on Miller Avenue near 287. That is, the GC on that is a Black woman, Yvette Kent. If you want to be part of that project, email me at dbrewer@fwmbcc.org. I've already sent that information out to those people who I'm connected with or who's connected with me. So that's when we need to control and own our own stuff. That we've been preaching, that's been preached since I can remember. So that's one thing, answer also. But obviously, we work with the city every day to try and, with bonding, with classes. That's why you have the chamber, SBDC, all these things, all these organizations out there that are partially funded by the city to help grow our small contractors to where they can be the general or the prime contractor. And we need contractors to come and attend these things so they can grow up. So that's my response to that. JC, I'd love to talk to you offline. I know we will. And we're going to do that joint training for joint ventures between our contractors so we can go after some of these bigger contracts. Anything else, Denise?
No, that was it. It was great information today. A lot of good things that people needed to know. Great conversation. And I think that's all the questions we have for today, unless you have anything else, Daryl.
Nope.
No. All right. Well, I just want to go ahead and close out. Thank you all for joining our weekly webinar. We have them every Tuesday at 3 o'clock. Daryl really tries to bring in the economic development portion and bring people in that have great information for your businesses and make sure that y'all are taken care of and in the loop of what's happening, not just in our community, but like in Texas and in all of the United States. Just all the policies have been changing. Like he said, if you're not subscribed to our mailing list, make sure you do that, because we do send out a lot of great information that can help you with your business, not only with resources, but financially too. Like if you're a contractor and we're sending out bids and you're not a part of this mailing list, so you're missing out on a big chunk of money, you know what I mean? So make sure to subscribe, make sure to like us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Our social media handle is FW Black Chamber. Like I mentioned at the beginning, we are in partnership with the Fort Worth Chamber, Hispanic Chamber, Visit Fort Worth, and the City of Fort Worth in providing small businesses in our community PPE equipment That's protective equipment for those that are starting to open up their businesses and make sure that they're protected as well as their customers. We are going to be putting these kits together on Thursday and do the second wave of distribution on Friday. So if you are interested in volunteering, please make sure to contact me. You can email me. My email is dbabiche@fwmbcc.org, or just comment on here, shoot us a message on Facebook or any other social medias. We'll get your information and make sure that we have you there. So if you're interested, if you're a business, also, if you're a business and you're interested in being featured or highlighted on our weekly webinar, we do have a form out there for you to fill out so I can have your information. And then we can get you on here and you can have a little snippet of a little bit of time to give a little snippet about your business, your services, what you're offering, your location, social media, things like that. So if you have a business or if you know of a business, make sure to do that. And other than that, we really appreciate y'all joining us every Tuesday, 3 o'clock, and we'll see y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye, Daryl. See you later.
Peace.